Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking a proven, completely no-nonsense playbook for escaping that exhausting paycheck-to-paycheck trap and finally automating your wealth. We are drawing straight from the financial strategies of David Bach. He's a renowned finance expert who has literally spent over 3 decades helping millions of people rewrite their financial futures. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by credit card debt, maybe confused by retirement accounts, or you're just plain exhausted from working incredibly hard without actually seeing your bank account grow, well, this explainer is definitely for you.
Here's our roadmap from financial stress to lasting freedom. We're going to cover the paycheck-to-paycheck trap, beating the automatic economy, pay yourself first, 3 accounts for freedom, crushing your debt, and finally, taking back control. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the paycheck-to-paycheck trap. We really need a stark reality check about the modern financial landscape. Look, if you are struggling right now, I need you to know you're absolutely not alone. Get this, a staggering 7 out of 10 people in the US currently live paycheck to paycheck. Think about that for a second. If you drive down a street with 10 houses, 7 of those households are feeling that exact same crushing pressure just to make ends meet. It can feel incredibly lonely and shameful, but this statistic proves that it's actually a massive systemic reality. Getting out of that trap takes a pretty massive mindset shift. You have to decide you're sick of the stress and resolve to make a long-term plan. Remember what David Bach says here. You don't get rich in days, you get rich in decades. You know, you can get into debt in a single day, sure, but getting out, that takes time, it takes patience, and it absolutely requires a system. You've got to prioritize the long game over those quick fixes. Moving on to Section 2, beating the automatic economy. Let's expose what is secretly draining your wallet every single month. We are living in what's known as the automatic economy. You know that smartphone in your pocket? It is essentially a highly engineered money magnet designed by some very smart companies to seamlessly separate you from your wealth over your entire lifetime. Just think about Netflix, the gym, your skincare subscriptions, software. They all just quietly take your money via monthly subscriptions. You have to counter this by becoming an automatic millionaire. If the economy is automated to take your money, well, you must automate your own system to build wealth for yourself before anyone else can even touch it. Which brings us to Section 3, pay yourself first. The crucial piece of the puzzle here is figuring out exactly how to flip this system so it automatically works in your favor. The absolute golden rule here is to pay yourself first. Literally, this means routing the very first hour of your daily income directly into a pre-tax retirement account, like a 401k or an IRA, before you pay rent, before you buy groceries, before you pay a single other bill. Because this is pre-tax money, you are legally skipping the IRS on that portion of your income and channeling it straight toward your own future freedom.
Let's break down the math on this, because it's kind of amazing. If you work a standard 8-hour day, say 9 to 5, saving just that very first hour of your gross income equals exactly 12.5%. Often people hear they need to save 12 to 14% of their income, and they immediately panic, right? They think, no way, I don't have that. But when you reframe it as just paying yourself for the very first hour of your workday, it suddenly becomes this tangible, achievable daily habit. You rip the Band-Aid off, automate that 12.5%, and I promise you, within about 3 months, you will completely adjust to living on the rest.
All right, Section 4, 3 accounts for freedom. Let's talk tactical execution and look at the exact buckets you need to house and actually grow this money.
So, you need a system with 3 distinct accounts. First up, your retirement account. This captures that 12 to 14%, and it should be invested in a set-it-and-forget-it vehicle, like a target date fund or a broad index fund like VTI. Next is your security account. Now, this is strictly for emergencies, and no, a new patio is not an emergency. You want 3 to 5% going here, parked in a highly liquid money market account earning around 4%. Finally, the dream account. This one is for your vacations or maybe a house down payment. If the dream is short-term, use a money market. If it's, say, 5 years away, put it in a balanced 60-40 mutual fund.
To really see the miracle of compound interest at work here, just imagine holding $10,000 in cash. That represents spending about $27.40 a day for a year. And honestly, a lot of us easily blow $27 on takeout, ride shares, or random subscriptions every single day without even blinking. But if you take that same $27.40 a day and invest it at a historical 10% market return over 40 years, it grows into a staggering $4.4 million. That is the unbelievable power of automating small, consistent investments. But listen, you absolutely have to avoid some massive pitfalls, especially when you're changing jobs. First off, never ever cash out your 401k early. You'll lose half of it to taxes and completely ruin your compound interest. Second, don't just abandon your funds in an old employer. And the most insidious mistake? Rolling your money into a new employer's plan but accidentally leaving it uninvested in cash, or letting the new company automatically default your contribution rate down to a tiny 3%. That single mistake of dropping your savings rate by accident can secretly cost the average person $300,000 in lost retirement wealth over their career. Just brutal.
Section 5, crushing your debt. Okay, let's pivot for a second and look at a hyper-practical strategy for anyone currently feeling crushed by credit card debt.
You need to execute what's called the DOLP method, done on last payment. First, you've got to get physical. Now, I know printing out all your statements can feel incredibly intimidating, but this action is absolutely necessary. Create a physical folder for each card and write down every single balance. Then, here is the secret sauce. You aggressively attack the card with the smallest balance first, while setting up automatic minimum payments for all your other cards so you never ever miss a due date.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Logic says you should pay off the card with the highest interest rate first, right? Well, actually, the source material heavily emphasizes paying the smallest balance first, totally ignoring those interest rates. Why? Because eliminating individual cards quickly reduces your overall number of credit cards. This protects you from the real danger, missed payments. Missed payments trigger massive late fees and skyrocket your interest rates across the board to like 25 or 30%. Plus, clearing a card entirely creates massive psychological momentum. You actually feel yourself winning, and that keeps you going.
And finally, Section 6, taking back control. We have to prepare for life's unexpected and sometimes tragic curveballs so you don't lose control of everything you've worked so hard to build.
You need to run a financial fire drill. Get this, the average age of widowhood in the US is shockingly young, just 59. You cannot leave your partner or be left yourself completely in the dark. Run this checklist right now. Document your online passwords, hunt down those old 401ks, find your life insurance policies, check your will. Seriously, if your will is 10 years old, it is woefully out of date. Store all of this in physical, clearly labeled file folders. When tragedy strikes, the absolute last thing a grieving family needs is a stressful financial scavenger hunt.
Whether you're facing a sudden loss or, frankly, navigating a divorce, knowing exactly where every single dollar is housed is just non-negotiable. Ultimately, either you have a plan for your money or someone else has a plan for your money. If you don't know where your finances are when life flips upside down, you seriously risk being left financially devastated or robbed of what is rightfully yours.
This whole system relies on getting your money out of that no-plan trap and putting it to work for you entirely on autopilot. We've talked about the paycheck trap, the magic of compound interest, crushing your debt, and preparing for the worst. But look, knowledge without action is just trivia, right? So I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital question. What is the first empowering automated financial decision you are going to make today? Are you going to go set up that 12.5% transfer, or are you finally going to print out those credit card statements? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.